Welcome to another episode of Masterminds with James Allen. He is I, and I am him. Today, we got family, and I'm excited about it. When I was in New Orleans a couple of weeks ago, I begged and pleaded with this person. I was like, "You got to be on. You got to be on this podcast." And since then, I have continuously bugged her and her busy schedule to get her on here. So I'm just, first of all, so thankful that she would agree in joining the Masterminds podcast. But yeah, I'm excited because this person is not only, a very impressive entrepreneur, high performer, but like I said, family, like a distant sister-in-law. I would call
Literally,
it,
yeah.
I would call it. So for a little bit of a background, her sister is best friends with my wife, Rachel, and they have been best friends since like the age of 2 or 3 or something crazy like that. So I have known this person for a very long time. I think I met you when you were like getting ready to like go to college or something crazy like that.
Wow.
Has
Yeah,
it been that? I think something
that
crazy
sounds
like that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds
So
all right.
um no, so just to see the journey and like talk to you at these different milestones, checking in with you from wherever you were in the world has been really impressive. So I am honored and humbled to have you here today. And so, without further ado, I'd like to welcome the Kaitlin Guerin to the Masterminds podcast. What up, family? How are you? Family for real this time. How are you?
Family for real. Thank you so much. Thank you for that
Hey.
intro. Yeah, I'm doing really good. I'm in much better spirits now, like getting ready, preparing for this. So I'm super excited about talking with you. And
Yeah.
like you said too, it's fam. It's all just conversation. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm looking forward, yeah, to the next
Absolutely.
hour.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so, like I said prior to us really getting on here, is I typically like to just quickly give a summary of someone's, origins of how they got started. But Kaitlin, your story is like really, really fascinating, and kind of like all these different things that you've been a part of and excelled at, to where, you know, how we got to Lagniappe Bakery, and it's phenomenal. So I guess, can you kind of walk us through, I mean, the point to where you like say, no, I'm not going to like school in the South, LSU or Tulane or whatever. I'm going to the East Coast or liberal arts school. And can you walk us through from like that decision to now? No pressure,
Yeah.
but yeah, okay.
No,
Yeah, yeah,
basically from when we met.
yeah.
That's where I'm going to start. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay,
exactly.
okay. Yeah,
Where
yeah.
this journey approximately when we met this many years ago.
Mhm.
So at that time when I was looking for colleges, yeah, that was a very different time in my life. I grew up going to performing arts school in New Orleans. So I had to pick an art by third grade. I chose dance and I got really heavily involved in dance,
Yep.
modern, ballet, contemporary. I was doing everything under the sun. And then I really honed in on focusing on modern and ballet. So I was trained basically since age 8, was training in dance and knew by the end of high school that I wanted to dance professionally. So I decided to pick a liberal arts college that would help guide my career and take me on that path. I didn't want to stay in New Orleans. I wasn't quite ready to go into New York City because that was really overwhelming. So
Yeah.
I picked a little humble school called Skidmore College.
Hey, shout out to Skidmore. Hey.
Shout out to
Okay.
Skidmore.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a beautiful experience. Yeah, in upstate New York, really changed my life. I needed something small, something much more humbling than New York City, and I was able to really push and more into my art and more into my dance career, and also still be so close to New York and have opportunities that were there. So
Sure.
that happened. I graduated with 2 degrees. It was a double in exercise science and dance. And my thinking then, when I was 20, 21, what are you going to do for the rest of your life? I think I'm going to dance for a few years and then I'm going to be maybe like a physical therapist or work with dancers for injury prevention or something that
Hmm.
was along the realm of what dance was for me and maybe where I'd find myself, you know?
Hmm.
So I was really focused on the science aspect and understanding bodies because I had to pick something else that wasn't just dance, right? I needed to have a backup plan. And
Hmm.
when you're 20 and 21, you don't really know what that is. And I just knew I had so many other interests, and I figured I would just figure it out.
Right.
Yeah, you
It's
know,
always daunting, like 18 to 21. There's so much pressure of like decide what the hell you want to do for the rest of your life. Like
it's too much pressure.
it really is.
And you're
But
asking me, like a multifaceted Gemini, to pick one thing to focus on in
right.
undergrad, you know? So it's like, I'm really thankful that I was able to, I mean, I wouldn't say I had the time to get 2 degrees done, but I made it work. I just basically busied myself for 4 years and really hunkered down. But I'm
Yep.
so glad I got to have that background in kinesiology and understand the physical body. It really played a big part in how I viewed myself pushing forward in my career, and
Hmm.
even where I am now, you know, with
Hmm.
food. All of these things are related in so many ways. And what I'm talking about in food now, which is, I'm not even like halfway through the story of my trajectory of life, but I'm just talking about, like, you know, just physical body awareness in space and being in the kitchen, working in the kitchen and working with your body. Because I'm really trying to take care of my body. It's carrying me through time.
Hmm.
So I had
Right.
this training. I graduated Skidmore. I moved to the Bay Area, to San Francisco, and I was dancing a little bit out there professionally, contract gigs on and off for a few years. I
Yeah.
was obviously working many other jobs to support my dance career because you have to. It's just like a striving artist, you
And
know.
San Francisco is not cheap, man.
Not at
Ooh.
all. Not that was the real struggle. I was a full-time, part-time nanny for a beautiful family. I
Hmm.
loved that part of my life. That also taught me so much. I was working with a child from 8 months until she went to preschool to
Oh,
kindergarten,
oh
so until
wow.
5.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was a really great experience. And
Hmm.
that job allowed me the time to take classes and keep furthering my career. And then they were so supportive when I was like, hey guys, I think I'm going to do this crazy thing and like go to culinary school. And they were like, oh, perfect. Let's work this out. Because I wanted to still be there for the family. So
Yeah.
I worked a whole bunch of other odd jobs. I worked as an Instacart shopper when they first started. And right, I'm in the hub of tech. I worked as a Lyft driver for a long
Right.
time.
Oh wow, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah. That was so fun.
I
That
bet you
was
got
like,
stories there. There's got to be crazy stories from.
I do have a few weird stories, but I never put myself in a bad situation. I was really
Yeah, for
smart
sure.
about being a sole female person in the car with strangers. But everyone was always like, whoa, like you're black and you're a woman and you're driving me. I'm like, yeah, like let's talk about that. Like let's yeah, you're probably never gonna see me again. Like let's talk about the unicorns in the world.
Right.
Um, so those were fun times. Obviously all very educational jobs that I had. Not, I mean, just some, as much as they were just paying the bills, but they just really
Mm-hmm.
taught me a lot of life skills that I didn't know, I needed.
Mm-hmm.
But just kind of having those things under my belt, having all these tools to pick from, to have networking opportunities from being a Lyft driver, just like conversational skills, just everything was sort of building. It was around maybe like year 3 when I was living in San Francisco that I realized I needed to shift my perspective on my career. I wanted to go back to grad school, didn't really know what I wanted to do. But I kind of found this appreciation for food. I was learning a lot more about food, understanding a lot more about where food comes from. And I think
Mm-hmm.
just a big part of that was living in California and being in like the hub of everything that is just beautiful in nature and life. And
Right.
so I was working a restaurant job. And then when I was first interested, I was working in front of house as a summer job. But then I somehow, no idea how I got this job. It was all just, networking.
Yeah.
I got a job as a pastry assistant for this really cool, really funky pizza shop that, they're a cafe in the morning and then they're a restaurant at night. And
That's cool.
and my pastry chef was also my age, self-taught, beautiful, amazing baker, and she took me under her wing, and she was so patient because I knew nothing. And I like immediately fell in love with everything that I was working with the locality, like how much she cared about every single ingredient that came in and out of that space, whether it was a strawberry or like a kumquat. Like it was just so beautiful to watch someone who was my age so passionate about it. So
Dope.
I really stuck on to that.
And
Hmm.
Kaitlin, and so you didn't know anything about baking prior to that. Come on.
Really, I was doing like a lot of stress baking.
Yeah.
Like I think that's kind of where I came from. I love sugar. I've always loved sugar and I always loved sweets. Like, yeah, I definitely grew up baking, in the kitchen with mom, the holidays.
I was gonna
There's
say,
that.
because when I'm in New Orleans, I gotta stop by y'all's house because I know your
Right.
mom's going. Shout out to Miss Terry and Mr. Kurt. I know they
Oh
finna
yeah.
have some good food. So that's why I was like, really? But okay. And I know your mom's like serious about her kitchen and
Oh
cooking.
yeah.
Yeah. So okay,
Oh yeah.
cool.
I'm sorry. I am downplaying that. I definitely did grow up in the kitchen cooking and baking
Right.
a lot, but
Right.
not to the degree that I was like learning about here, just like the
Mm-hmm.
simplicities of like really fresh piece of fruit that you get to enjoy like for what it is. Here the extent of my baking up until I left to go to school was just making like pies and cakes and boxed stuff that was super easy to put together, but I didn't really
Mm-hmm.
understand. I have an appreciation for food,
Okay.
like I had an appreciation for New Orleans and
Mm.
food from New Orleans, right? But is that where you're gonna?
No, I was just wondering. I'm just trying to figure out the timeline. Did you enroll in the culinary school prior to meeting this chef, or was it the chef that sparked the interest that made you want to go enroll into culinary school? Which one came
They both
first?
They both happened right around the same time, but
Oh
it
wow.
was initially getting the job that within like the first month, I was like, this is great. I'm doing this. And then I enrolled in culinary school. So I kind of wasted no time. And
Stars
there,
align, man.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I was doing. I, I look back and I was like, I really did that. Like, I had no idea. I was just excited about something. And I mean, I trusted my intuition that it would work out. And we have a cousin, a distant cousin, who I ended up living with out for some time out there in California. And she's a beautiful, amazing mentor of mine. Her name is also Terry. Um, and, and the Terrys, they get along really well. Her and my mom get along really well. But
Right.
she was the one who was like, oh, you want to do this? Cool. But you can only do this if you're going to go to CIA. She's like, there's no other place to go. Like, you have to go to CIA. This is the best education you can get. And I didn't really look that much further into schools. I trusted her opinion. I went to the school, I went to tour it. They promised me that I could do an internship abroad, and that was
Oh
a selling
wow.
point. Yeah, because I didn't get to study abroad in undergrad because of my dance career. It was
Mm,
not possible to leave and miss opportunities. So I was like, cool, I'm sold. I'm a little bit older now. I can figure this out and understand like really what I'm going to get out of this education of like
mm-hmm.
putting myself through this program. So I enrolled and then I started January 2018 at the CIA in Napa. I was not important, but important. I was commuting from Oakland to Napa every day, which is a 62-mile drive one way. So that took a lot of a toll on my physical and mental health while I was in school studying something that was completely unknown to me. Like having to do that back and forth took a lot out of me, but it was also just like the drive that I needed to like keep me going. Cause
Mm-hmm.
that was, I, there were other options. I had like places to stay out there in Napa, but that was the one thing that I kept being like, I have to wake up every single morning and make this drive, and I'm going to do it because I really want to get this done. I really want to have this education. So
Yep.
that was an important time in my life to like have those 3 hours, 4 hours in the day to like really hone in. Be
Right,
like, is
right.
this really what I want to do? Yeah.
You say 62 miles, but yeah, I can only imagine what that equates to as far as in California driving. So in traffic. So hour and a half, 2 hours each way. That's like Goodness gracious. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then so fast forward a little bit. So we go through the
Yeah.
culinary and we make a decision to move back to NOLA and
Yeah.
went how far after finishing the program, how many like was it right after finishing the program we moved back to NOLA?
Yep. Almost. I
Okay.
finished September of 2019. Then I moved home in January of 2020. But when I finished school, I staged, which is like basically you go and you I can't think of the equivalent word. Um, you go and you like, you're under. So you're going to just like watch, basically volunteer your time at a restaurant.
Like an
But it's an
internship?
opportunity, like an internship, but
Okay.
stage is a much shorter. It could be a day, it could
Oh
be
wow.
a week. Yeah. So I just went to stage at my favorite restaurant in San Francisco, which is State Bird Provisions. And I was like, I just want to come and hang out. Like they weren't hiring at the time. But after the stage, she was like, I really like you. If you want to come join, please, we'd love to have you.
Oh
So I
damn.
started working there right after school. Yeah, but I told them that I could only work until January until I could move home. So it was just like this really fast 3 months of very necessary, important kitchen work. And I love that job. And I wish I could have stayed there, but I needed to move back home. I really needed to come home and take time to be with family and to rest
Mm-hmm.
and then like figure out what just happened in my life. Like
Right.
I just went to culinary school and I have this official like pastry chef title and everything just happened in like 2 years. I needed to just take some time to like really dissect that. But that was January 2020 and then pandemic happened.
In March 2020. Yeah. That was
And
like prior to like a last couple of weeks ago when I ran into you. That was like the last time we saw everybody was that Mardi Gras, right? Like right when
yeah,
the pandemic hit. And
that's
during
right.
that pandemic flourishes, I guess, blossoms is Lagniappe Bakery, right? And from that,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the I guess the origins of that? You were just like, yo, I'm about to get these luxury boxes off or what? I mean, like what was the thought about that? Or I mean, like kind of walk me through the process of how you started Lagniappe.
Yeah. Alone. We're alone. We're stressed. We need comfort.
Yeah.
I started making right in March. I started making pies and things. I have some distant family friends who I lived with in San Francisco, Valerie
Yeah.
and Gerald. And I would make pies for them and just drop them off and just only for them. It was like, they needed it. And I was like, oh, well, we all kind of need this. So like, let me go
Mm-hmm.
trudge through the grocery store in the scary COVID time and get ingredients and just sort of like build and then just see what happens out of it. And I had a friend from school who had already started doing pastry boxes. She was based in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So I took that model and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I'm going to run with this. Just a 4 item box assortment of pastries. So when I
Mm-hmm.
started the business, initially it was like May of 2020. I officially started. I was doing like a slice of cake, a macaron, a little pie, and whatever, like, fourth Lagniappe item, literally.
Yeah.
Um, and this went over really well. A lot of folks were just happy to have something. They were happy to support me and my homecoming, coming back. And a lot of word of mouth spread from family and friends. And I'm getting cousins and friends of cousins and everyone being like, this is dope. Don't stop. So I started the business really like June. It really kicked up. And I just got really excited and a chance to like be creative and experiment. And so where it started and how I like to call what I do now is that this is Lagniappe Baking. It is a bakery. It's a
Yep.
bake house. It's this all like inclusive space, but it's more than just boxes, right? Lagniappe Baking has turned into the Lagniappe Bake House. This is my pop-up space where I do, where I have these assorted pastry boxes, but I'm also in spaces. So on the weekends, I sell breakfast pastries to Hotel Peter and Paul,
Oh,
to the
dope.
Elysian Cafe. Yeah.
Dope. Shout out
And
Adrian.
shout out to Adrian. That was that
Yeah.
connection.
Yep.
That's when I met. I mean, also I grew up knowing Adrian, but he was like, you need to be in this space. This is perfect. This is exactly what I'm seeing when I look in the Legion. And I love that space so much.
Hmm.
Um, I am so happy that I get to be able to bake there. But Lagniappe is also collaborations. I work with a good friend of mine. His name is Serene, and he owns a restaurant now. It's about to be a restaurant, which is exciting, called Dakar Nola. So he's Senegalese-based chef who's doing Senegalese New Orleans style fusion, family style meals. But we work a lot together to expand my knowledge of Senegalese and West African food and get to experiment doing pastries and desserts there. And now my fiance, Lino, he's West African. He's from Cameroon. So this is just like all
Shout
a
out
big circle
Lino.
of shout out to Lino, who also
Yeah.
like he is the other 50% of this brand. I can't talk about Lagniappe without talking about him because he's really helped me build out this brand and itself and it not just be focused around pastry boxes, right? Like
So
it's a whole thing. Yeah.
yeah,
So
and I love that part, and that's why I really wanted to talk to you. And thank you so much for that kind of origin story. But it's like it's so fascinating to actually talk to someone like in the midst of the startup, like true startup mode. You know what I mean?
mm,
And like that's why I was like, yo, I really want to get you on here and like talk your shit, and just kind of offer these kind of stories because there are people who are, maybe gonna listen to this and on the edge of maybe taking that leap, you know what I mean? And who are
yeah.
going to need to hear those stories and need to hear that thought process. And it's so good to like get family on here and talk that. And um, just really quick, Rachel and I have always said about you, and we've never, I don't know if she'd maybe said it to your face or whatever, but it's like, we always like, Kaitlin, like that girl is fucking fearless, like fearless. And that's what we get from you is because it's like whatever is like, hey, I'm all in. I'm going to the East Coast, or hey, I'm going to Denmark, or I'm moving to San Francisco and I'm gonna make this shit work and I'm gonna make it figure out. And then it was like, so when we heard that you were creating a business in New Orleans, it's like, oh, of course she is. And it's like, of course she's gonna be successful at it. So nah, man, that's yeah, and it's really been exciting to kind of see the publications and see the marketing and the brand build, and you get you put your stuff out there. So no, that's super cool. And I just want to say that because I don't know if we've
Thank
ever
you.
actually stated that, but that's the thoughts and the conversations that are had. So you gotta always want to give somebody their flowers. Why
Thank
they
you.
yeah.
I
No,
I'm learning to take the flowers because for
there
a
you go.
long time I was giving out all the flowers and I was
Word.
receiving them, but I wasn't really receiving them. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you so much. I really
No,
appreciate that.
nah,
It's
for sure.
stressful being fearless, but yeah, I'll
Yes,
take
no, it
that.
is.
It is.
It really is. It really is. And um, yeah, because Adrian always, he has this saying, the ducks in the pond. Have you ever heard about that? The ducks in the pond. So it's
Maybe.
so when you're seeing a duck like swim across the pond, they seem like very smooth, just very graceful on the water, like everything's chill. But underneath the water, they're just fucking paddling their asses
Mm,
off, right? And it's so
yeah,
chaotic, so crazy. But no one
yeah,
sees that. All everyone sees is just that cool, calm duck. And so a lot of times, that's the kind of stuff that we deal with. In
yeah,
entrepreneurship, people may see the wins, or we may not kind of share everything, all those fears, all those challenges, those frustrations, those long nights with people. And so all they see is the success, and they're just like, oh damn, this person. You're like, no, this shit is rough, like to
yeah,
get there. So no, so kudos to you for that. And before we kind of get into more just like about you setting up Lagniappe, is it should I call it bakery, should I call it a bake shop, like what's the bake house? Well, I mean, what would you should we prefer refer to it as Lagniappe? I mean, what do you
let's move forward. We're referring to it as Lagniappe, but
okay.
I'm also still in this phase where I'm at the pivotal point where I can change it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm trying to juggle with that too. So for me, it, the verb baking, yes, it's baking, it's a bakehouse, but I think I'm preferring it in a bakery, you know, but I think bakery connotates that it's a brick and mortar space. Bakehouse is a little more of an all-inclusive space, but baking is what the name currently is. So the name is currently Lagniappe Baking,
Okay.
but I'm trying to figure out what is the more appropriate title. And
Okay.
bakehouse is also not there, so I'm not quite sure. But let's keep calling it Lagniappe because that's what I call it. And I mean, it is literally Lagniappe. That's
Right.
the whole point of the business, is just a
And
little extra something.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, great. Because I was gonna say, and people who aren't from the South are from New Orleans. Hell, I'm from the South, but until I lived in New Orleans, I had no idea what the hell lanyard was. Everyone around me kept using that word. I was like, "What the hell is
You're like,
that?" So,
what?
so, so yeah, it's just
Yeah.
a little extra something. So, no, shout out to you there. So, just a quick question: What
Mhm.
is um tell me a little bit about this, the seasonal agriculture and I guess the ingredients that you pull from for because
Mhm.
as really studied your business, I thought that was really, really interesting and really like a differentiator from a lot of stuff that we may see here. I don't know. I'm not super like tapped into the baking scene here in Houston, but I don't hear anybody, doing that. And it's really cool that things are really like you really want to tap into Lanyap all throughout the year because
Mhm.
depending
Mhm.
on the year, you're providing different products. And it's like once that season is up, that particular product may be gone, I'm assuming. So can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about the seasonality and how do you pull from that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
I'm glad you asked that question too, because it is a really important part of how I view the philosophy of my business.
Mhm.
And you you can't talk about seasonality without talking about sustainability. And for me, all of those things play a big part in how I view how food is carrying us through life, right? So when I learned about food, I was learning about and understanding what food means in California, like this hub of just beautiful, bountiful harvest. Everything is available for you. You shop the seasons. I would go to like the best grocery stores and the farmers markets, and just everything is so amazing. I had such a difficult time going back in August because I was just so upset. Like, it's just so beautiful, but you take it for granted. And then I traveled through my short-lived food career only being in spaces where people appreciated locality and seasonality. So I put myself in those environments to really understand why this is so important. And when I started really understanding for myself and my business with Lagniappe where I wanted the trajectory of Lagniappe to go, I'm trying to educate myself on the lay of the land here, right? Like I grew up in New Orleans. I understand a lot about the culture of the city, but
Mhm.
I don't really understand a lot about the terroir of the South of Louisiana. And it's so fascinating because it's so different even from California. Like I have a seasonal produce calendar on my wall from California. Nothing is the same that it is here. I mean, first of all, half the stuff you can't even get here. But I at least thought like, oh, well, strawberries will be in the same season as they are in California. They're definitely not.
Oh, wow.
Strawberries here are a winter crop. So you really start getting them in December and they run all the way to like March. It's insane.
Yep.
And so when I started understanding that, like frequenting to the farmers markets and talking to farmers who are now friends of mine, I've made friends with so many local farmers who are doing the job of keeping these heirloom, plants and seeds and things that are so connected to the South, keeping them going. That's when I started to appreciate what it really meant
Mhm.
to source locally and to source sustainably. And that also plays a big conversation about being sustainable, right? Like I'm not going to go just make a cake that's using raspberries that are coming from California. Even like I'd rather just wait until they're actually in season when they're going to be more affordable in the first place. And even if it does mean that I'm buying them at a grocery store, like I feel a little bit better that I know that they're actually in season. So it's a big part of like checking off that sustainability
Yeah.
box of like, okay, I know I'm doing the right work and this feels good for me to say that I'm not, wasting any extra energy putting this product out there. But from a creative standpoint, it's really fun to work with local seasonal items, because you never know what you're going to come out with that. Like when I started doing the boxes, I would do a weekly box and I would change the menu every single week. And that got to be so exhausting. Like
Yeah, I can
I was,
only imagine.
I had so many ideas going. I just had to get everything out. So
Yeah.
what I was changing, even though I'm doing like a cake, a cookie, or this and that, I'm changing the ingredients and what's in there. And that was fun because I'm just experimenting. So I'm trying things and that I would never think would go together, or just fun things that sound really good and they end up being really good together. But that shifted from having that fun creativity side of just like pulling things together out of my ass that I had no idea would work. And then being like, oh, well, hey, persimmons are in season right now and they're only going to be in season for like another couple of weeks. Let me
Yeah.
snag a whole bunch of them from the market, see what I can do with them. And then the next month's box, that will be the highlighted item. So it started to shift into that
And
direction.
okay. And like when you're buying these different ingredients, like based on the cost of the goods, does that box change? Because because what I'm hearing you, this is so fascinating because when I'm hearing you're talking like in real time, we're hearing you go from like, not even go from, but that push and pull with you being like on one side, you're an artist. I mean, you're to the core, you're just very artistic and you want to express in so all these different ways. But at the end of the day, like we're also hearing you like you run a legit business, a full on operation that needs to be profitable. And so it's just like, like, how does that go? That was a loaded question, but I mean, ultimately, I guess, like just from a profitability standpoint, like are the boxes changing? Like, all right, if you just got a whole bunch of, I can't even pronounce
Persimmons.
yes, that you just got. And
And
so,
they're expensive.
and they're expensive. So is that reflected in that months are, that season's box? Is that reflected, an increase of whatever just for a targeted net profit, or how do you go about that?
No, also a great question. I don't know if you should, like, is it a good idea for an artist to try to start a business when all I really cared about initially, right, was just like being creative and putting things out there that spoke to me. So yeah, that's definitely something I have to struggle with about affordability and costing.
Mm-hmm.
So when that is the instance, which is exactly what happened in this case, I mean, full disclosure, I paid a lot of money for a lot of really great persimmons. They take a long time. They're a really delicious fruit that's very seasonal, and I think they're stemmed from like they're an Asian fruit. I don't want to get into specifics of them, but they're kind of
Sure.
like a
Yeah.
like a mealy plum thing. They have a really beautiful taste. Very, they go well with like a lot of fall desserts. It's a fall fruit. And so I got them and they're really expensive. They take a few days to ripen. I let them all ripen and then I made a jam with them. But the thing about persimmons is that they're really chalky when they're not ripe. So they leave like a film in your mouth. And then when they
Mm-hmm.
are ripe, they're just beautiful, delicious, soft. And I let some of the chalky ones go into the jam and I didn't know. So I ruined the entire batch of persimmons that I took
Oh,
me so long.
damn.
Yeah, but that was a huge cut I had to take because I literally put all of the persimmons into this one pot. And I was like trusting myself that I could make it work out of like the $65 worth of persimmons that I purchased.
Damn. And
So,
I mean, no, but those are the kind of lessons we learn, and then, we create, standard procedures and things
yeah,
around those for those checks, right? I mean, that's just,
right.
and it's so fascinating because like in any type of business, like, I deal a lot with off market deals and stuff, and I'm pulling data, and yeah, me not being specific on, I'm high level work I say this. So me pulling data, paying all this money for a less well known, respected data source, me just blowing a shitload of money, and
Yeah,
me having to eat that, and me learning, okay, like all data is not created equal. And so those are the kind of things that, and then we take those notes and we take those lumps and then we move on. And
Yep.
so, yeah, damn. So that was, yeah, that's fascinating. I do have a question though. Okay.
But
So when you buy these items in bulk, they do have to ripen and they have a certain period. Like, how are you able to preserve these? Or is it just like, I mean, how do you buy them? Do you buy things in
mhm.
weekly? Like, do you buy things on a month basis? Because it seems daunting if you're buying a month's worth of persimmons or however you say it. Like,
Yeah.
and then you have to cook or transform all of this stuff into something within a month. But then how do you use that, for the next 3 weeks? I'm just kind of
Yeah.
wondering about rather the logistics of how you go about um, actually managing your cost of goods and keeping things so they don't go bad. Like
Yeah.
refrigerators or like how are you doing that? Like what's the secret there? Because everything's fresh,
Yeah.
right?
Everything's fresh as
Yeah.
much as I can,
Yeah.
and
Sure.
I'm an honest person and honestly telling you that I'm getting the best ingredients that I possibly can. And
Yeah.
people say that with their business, but it is taking a huge cut out of my personal, investment in it, that I'm wanting to give you the best ingredients. I'm wanting to source this flour from South Carolina because I think personally these are the best grains that we can get to make this one product. So when you're talking about costing and like profit
Mhm.
and loss, I take a lot of losses.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part about being in this industry. If I were working in a restaurant, if this was like, this is a legitimate cottage bakery, but I'm very limited on what I can actually do. And I'm definitely breaking a lot of rules. But I've learned that New Orleans is this very different place. And I can break these rules right now because I am a small business. And it's kind of okay. I'm not saying that at all. That's actually what's happening. I don't want anyone coming for me, but I just know I know personally that I can bend the rules. But where I'm limited in that is that I am a cottage bakery. I can only do so much. If I were doing this in a restaurant and let's say like I just spent $600 on some persimmons and I took that huge L, yeah, that'd be a super huge cut. That would really like mess up the entire flow of the restaurant. But it does that in the same way with how I'm working on this very small scale. And me taking a cut like that does mean that I have to now shift and try to do something else. So when I'm buying these ingredients, I'm really conscious about obviously about the amount, but like you said about shelf life. So of course I can buy bulk items, flour, sugar, butter, things I can freeze very well. I
Mhm.
have a separate refrigerator for Lagniappe in this case. We have 3 refrigerators in this kitchen. Our main refrigerator, which is kind of usually empty, like a
Yeah.
drink refrigerator, which is also like kind of a fermentation refrigerator. So it's like
Mhm.
spooky stuff going on in there. And then my Lagniappe refrigerator, which is a slightly smaller build, but I tell myself if I can't fit anything else in that freezer, then it's got to go. Like the freezer, I refuse to expand to like a bulk freezer because I don't want to keep stocking up all this stuff when
Mhm.
I'm my the philosophy of my business is like freshness and seasonality.
Yeah.
So for example, when I do get a huge haul, like I'm going to the farmer's market right after we get off this call, and I'm hopefully they have something for me today because it's been really sad lately. But I'll buy a lot of stuff if they're at the end of the season for something. I'll buy as much as I can. And typically the way I like to break it down is like half of it I'll jam or like some sort of like cooked fruit technique, or usually it's fruit that I'm working with. Obviously,
Mhm.
I'm very little am I touching vegetables.
Mhm.
Um, or non-sweet things, so I'll usually jam the fruits, but I also like to preserve them, so sometimes I'll pickle them, which sounds really weird and gross, but all of these other preservation techniques are great ways, like a techniques and training that I've learned from school, from my time in Denmark, like things that I know I can use to preserve them and then see what the product is later. So I can come back to these pickled peaches in 6 months and see if they're going to be good. And then that's a highlight on my next menu. So it's stretching out the dollar a lot further, and it can go a lot further. But also to go back and answer the question specifically, like about the boxes where I take those L's at. If I'm gonna highlight an ingredient in my box that I know is expensive, I'll kind of compensate and make everything else like sound really nice, but I'm using products that are relatively more affordable or things I've
Mm,
already had in my like mystery bag over there of like spices and herbs. So I can compensate. I always want the boxes to be accessible for people. I would really hate to increase the price more. I've had to increase the price because of inflation. It's just like butter is $5 a pound now, and it's just
right,
really hard to like,
right.
yeah. So some things I just I couldn't budge, but the loyal customers, the supportive folks are always like, no, I would pay more for this. And and you should be charging more, but I just can't reason with that. So keeping
Why?
within that budget.
Because I know you want them accessible, but I mean, if your
Right.
customers are already saying they're going to support, like, and this isn't like no knock, but this isn't the bakery at Rouse's or anything, right?
Right.
This is come on, Kaitlin. Like
This is elite. Yeah.
this is elite. This is elite products. These are elite strategies and techniques that you're using. You're well traveled. You're well studied. These are luxury boxes. It's a luxury good, and it's kind of
Yeah.
funny. Like I don't know.
Hmm.
I you know your business is your business, but I would at least play around with the pricing and maybe do some like some testing to where you have like you know the Lagniappe basic box and then a Lagniappe luxury box side by
Yeah.
side and do side by side and see which one sells out. Because ultimately, people in general are going to want to buy the more expensive shit.
That's real. And you're definitely not the first person to tell me that. And I also like reason with this with myself all the time. And
Yeah,
that's been an idea to offer more than one item. But
yeah,
I think for like the simplicity of my brain and for how I want to keep this business moving forward, at least like while it's still in its like precious beginning stages. Because 2 years in, I mean, a lot has happened in 2 years and like time goes so fast. But that's not a lot of time at all for a business, especially one
fair
like
enough.
mine that, yeah, you look at, you're like, oh, well, look at all I did, but I didn't really do that much. Um, I, I want to work within these realms. So I feel like I'm just cutting off a huge part of the market of people that I want to try these products for, um, by increasing the price of it, right? Like
Okay.
right now, the boxes, they started off at $25 in May of 2020 or whenever, that was another $35. When I do holiday specials, I'm charging $50, $60 for items, right? And that's at markets and things like that. It's at the same time, it's really hard to justify when the bulk of the ingredients are flour, butter, sugar, and salt, like charging any more than a few dollars for an item. So that's something
Your
that I'm
time.
really
Your
right.
time.
Time is, and that's the next big factor in it too. I'm also, yeah, and time, training, like you said, just like the well traveled and all of these things that all plays a part into it. But
Your
where
price
the
is your price. But I mean,
facts,
hey,
yeah,
I mean, we'll get there. Not will. I mean, however, whatever you're looking to striving to do, I'm have no doubt in my mind that you'll get there. And like if it's to sell to the masses and and just do quality with quality with quantity, if that's making any sense. I fully support and I tread lightly on these
yeah.
conversations because I don't ever want to tell somebody about their business because when it's your baby, when it's your thing, everybody's like on the outside, like you should do this, you should do this, and you're like, you have no fucking clue because you're not in the kitchen with me all the time. Um,
Yeah,
so
no,
I yeah,
it's like necessary advice too, because it is at a point where these boxes are legit luxury items that even when I'm putting the menu together, I'm scaling back myself. Like, well, I could do this, but because of the price of this, and I'm not ready yet to change the price of the product. I want
Yep.
to keep it still accessible. So I'm going to work around that. And like, what can I fit into this budget in this time and for my labor, myself, right? I'm kind of working within the realms of that limit. So
Yep.
that's also a fun part of it for me, because it's honing in on something. I have very specific guidelines, and then I can get a lot more creative with that, you
Yep.
know?
I I really, really, really want to connect you with Sukaina Rajani. She was the person that I interviewed last week, and her interview just went live today.
I was
And
just listening to it.
okay, perfect. Because
Yes.
she created Macaroon by Patisse here in the city.
Mm-hmm.
It's a phenomenal brand. She started cooking these macaroons in her apartment, and grew this thing out to where it's a huge staple in the most luxury River Oaks, the most expensive real estate in the city of
Mm.
Houston. And she's done phenomenal stuff. She actually has a group for entrepreneurial women, and we actually ran a promo code, so you can get 1 month free into that group where she does coaching and
Tight.
pitch. So I'm gonna send you that. It's the promo code. I'm gonna send you the link, but yeah, and it should be all in the description. And not to make this about her because this is your interview, but I really think I know Rachel's part of that group and some other entrepreneurs,
Nice.
and I think it'd be super super dope just you to connect with her, because your stories are a lot so similar. Not only because of the fact
Mm-hmm.
that it's in baking or whatever like that, but just like she's been able to navigate to where I guess macarons historically are just expensive anyways, right? But
Yeah.
um, it's like I think you guys could benefit from each other from having a conversation. So I would highly highly urge you guys to connect. So
Yeah.
um
Thanks.
yeah, anyway, so yeah, I'll do that, and I'll even, if you want me to, I can connect you guys directly. But so no, I was just saying all that to say, like, it's really fascinating hearing how um it's really, my question is that balance between
Mm-hmm.
being super artistic but being profitable. Because if you go all the way, you could put the most perfect boxes together, but if you're not profitable, you're not able to buy the goods that you're going to need for the next set of boxes or the next set of things. So it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
that struggle. So um yeah, I'm just really interested to hear about, like, how that's going, where it's like, turning that passion and that complete artistic side into, the business. It's fascinating.
Yeah, that's where events and like catering and those kind of things show up, because that's an opportunity to like bulk mass produce something
Mm-hmm.
that can stretch out a lot further than a box can, and other
Mm-hmm.
events and pop-ups and things. And I mean, the trajectory also of my career in New Orleans has been a funny one, right? Like I I mean, just like coming back and moving here and like really settling and understanding that I'm back in New Orleans, the city that I grew up in and I love to hate so much. But like just understanding like that the economy here and like what is brought here and like what you need just to be the best version of yourself. And to live here, you don't need much. And I'm not trying to like capitalize and make this business yet this huge thing. I'm very satisfied with where it is right now, and I'm
Got it.
also trajectory wise trying to figure out where I want it to go.
Got it.
So for me, like offering boxes is only 30% of the business, right?
Oh,
I
okay.
do on the side. It's the highlight of the business. This is what we know Lagniappe to be, but I do on the side events, caterings, I hesitate to say weddings. I don't do wedding cakes. I do weddings and other things that are bringing in the profit, but also it's the brand, it's the content. And this has been a huge pull and push and pull for me, is building an online presence and like also strategizing with networking with folks and like putting things together. I have a big project coming up next year that I'll say in so many words is that I'm starting to build a pastry program for
Oh,
different
damn.
people. So
Let's
I want
go.
to get into like pastry consulting, and how else can I do that if I don't first build my own brand? So for me, that on the
Facts.
side is like right now is at the point in the business where I feel like I have to take more losses because I'm doing a lot of like personal work of research and discovery, R&D, putting ideas and menus together and sort of standardizing these things so that
You're
when
laying
I'm
the
ready to like,
foundation.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I mean, it's no surprise, but I don't have any background in business based off of my career that we just talked about. I literally just stepped right into this. My mom teaches classes on small businesses, so she's been there to aid and
Hey,
support.
that on the
But
stairs.
it's a different world because what she understands is brick and mortar small business, and that's the thing that I do not want. I do not want a physical space. So trying to like maneuver around pop-ups and what's trendy and Instagram and TikTok and like really building a business on a social media platform is more of the focus right now. So yeah, it's a lot of laying the foundation. Um,
And so
yeah,
festival season is huge. Is that huge for you as
yeah.
well? That's huge for you as well. I
It's
would assume
about to
so.
be.
Hey,
Yeah.
let's go. Let's
Yeah.
go.
I have an opportunity to do like French Quarter Fest.
Come
And this
on.
year
That's
I was
huge.
like, they're like, let's do it. And I was like, wow, that's a lot. But if you give me until next year, I can definitely, get everything together by then because that's a whole, I mean, you need physical things. Like you just can't pop up and here's my little tent and I got this thing. Like I need a whole that's an investment.
You're gonna
It's
need help. Yeah,
essentially
you're gonna
so.
need a team with you for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly,
For sure.
exactly.
But
So
that's gonna be huge though. Man, shout out to that.
yeah,
Um, no, that's man, yeah, it's really exciting to hear where you're gonna take it. And I did mention, dear, I did hear you mention, pardon me, about the networking aspect of it. And that's the cool thing is, um, you know, being that you're on the podcast and now you're alumni is we do have exclusive Slack channel to where all the entrepreneurs are there.
ooh,
Sukain is on there as well. So as soon as
ooh,
we get done, I'll send you and and there's a couple other artists. And so
beautiful.
everyone can kind of talk and share gems and you can also promote. I'm curious, is it possible to be in Texas and order um anything? I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm just asking. Is that something
No,
that's in the works or
unfortunately, not anymore. Not
okay?
I really wanted it to be a thing.
Hmm.
And for me, that would require me to really build the business out. And I think I need an actual legally, I need a physical space to do that. So this is where I
Mm,
kind of ran into this. I kept promising folks like, yeah, I'm going to start shipping. I'm going to start doing this. But for the capacity of what I want to do with shipping to be able to offer certain products, it'd be like very streamlined. You can only get one or two things, or really you can only just get one kind of item. And that's all I'm going to offer. But all of the troubles I had to run through that I found through networking. I'm a part of a women's organization in hospitality, a
dope.
woman who's a third party, yeah, who runs her own shipping company for restaurants. And she's always going to be there when I'm ready. I'm so grateful for her. But I'm not ready for that yet. I think part of what I enjoy also about Lagniappe is like the exclusivity of it. Like you can only get it if you're in New Orleans and if I
Yep.
happen to be doing something. And to me, that's an annoying pull. It's an annoying ask for everyone else who doesn't live in New Orleans, but it's an opportunity to say, well, hey, come visit our city, come invest in New Orleans, come see what's happening. If you really, really want to try this product, then come to New Orleans and try it for yourself. And when you do that, and people do reach out to me, hey, I'm coming in town and visiting, what are you going to have? Well, I won't have a box, but I'll make something for you because you took the
Dope.
time out to ask me to do that. And I'll put something together for you. So I like kind of do those.
And
Yeah.
so is that the best way? Is like because I was gonna ask like
Yeah.
for people who may be interested in trying some of Lanyap's products, but um man, I know you personally. What's the best way to reach out and get a hold of you? Is it just via Instagram or what? Like, what's the best way?
Yeah. The best
Or the
ways,
website or what? Yeah.
is my website, which is Lagniappe Baking,
Yeah.
ingbaking.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also through Instagram, like a DM, never hurt nobody,
Okay.
So those two methods are the best way, or email, or literally word of mouth. However, you run into me at the store, pop up, just, yeah,
Dope.
that
Dope.
those are always the best ways. I love connecting with people. And this is a great city to do that in.
So two things I love to hear. So the first thing that came to mind as I listen to you is like you um are very much like not may necessarily have the full vision together, but very confident in the vision that you're formulating, and very patient in the way of like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. We're streamlining and we're moving forward. So I very much appreciate that, because sometimes as entrepreneurs, we get shiny object syndrome and we're like all over the place. We're over here because that's cool. We're over here because that's cool. And we're not very focused. You seem very
mhm.
focused and strong minded to where you're taking this brand, which is awesome. And then the other thing is, um, it seems like, well, I guess there's three things. I'm hearing you. There's not a shortage of resources around you. Pardon me. Kind of yawn sometimes because these damn kids keep me up at night. I love my little gremlins.
Yeah.
But so yeah, there's not a shortage of resources. But then also, Kaitlin, I love to hear all these things that you're talking about are like, essentially, I call them growing pains. Like there's just all of these
Mm,
things are good problems, expansions. Like, okay, I don't want to do the festival yet. I have the opportunity, the option to do it, but I'm not ready to do it yet because of X. And I'm no longer shipping because of Y. And I have the opportunity to maybe expand my products, but I'm keeping it to this streamline because of Z. Like you're very much like it's very methodical, very well thought out. But in all the issues, it's not like, damn, I'm having issues of people coming out and supporting. You know what I mean? All the problems you have are like super good to have,
yeah.
because the
Yeah.
demand is there and you've built the brand and you worked your butt off, and all the trust in yourself and the vision has led you to that. So
Yeah.
man, I'm proud and just excited. I mean, even though you don't need
Thank you.
me to say that, but I'm super just proud for like, yo, I know her and I see the grind, and yo, it's there and you're
No,
getting
no,
it.
I do. No, thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah,
mean, we all need to like keep supporting each other in that
for
way.
sure.
And I'm so glad that you brought that up, that you recognize that, because it does read to me sometimes that it's a bad thing, and I have to check myself. No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to be methodical and to take your time and to say no. And the only reason why I got to this point, because I had to do a lot of self-reflective work about
Mm.
where I want this business to go. Because last year was me saying yes to everything that came my way.
Mm.
In the pandemic, I was saying yes to shipping. I shipped you guys a cake. That was like one of
Yeah.
my first big ships, and it was so stressful. I think I'm so caught up in the perfectionism of everything that
Yeah.
I can't let go of that.
Yeah, I just
That
remember
was a
you
whole
stressing
thing.
out. Yeah, I remember you stressing out about that. It turned out phenomenal. The cake was
It did.
awesome. But I
Yeah.
remember you were just like, yeah, because you
I
wanted it to be
know,
perfect.
like,
No.
exactly.
But
Yeah,
that's the quality, that's the thing you care about. So
right. And that's what's led me to this point too, was that I was such a perfectionist. I had to give a lot of that up. And that took a lot of work in itself, just to like strip away a couple of layers. If my perfection is at 80%, maybe today it's at a 60%. And it's
yep.
still good enough, still accepting that. But also, like, in the terms of streamlining of what you're saying too, it's like I'm so happy that I've been able to build this customer base. Like, all of my clients are diehard. Like, I mean, a couple of them have become good friends of mine. Like, they're just so supportive. They show up for everything and anything. And those are the people that I want to keep reaching to
Yep.
before I really start to expand. Because when it comes time to actually expand, I'm going to need those supporters
I
and I'm going
love
to
it.
need those voices So when I'm streamlining, I'm giving you a product that is the best version of myself at this time that I can give to you from the resources that I have. And it's like, it's also just like a lot of love, like, yeah, I guess that's really the artist in me that can't functionally run a business yet, because all I really understand is giving out what I'm putting in.
So one thing is, stop you there. You're running a business. You're in it. So
Oh, I am. I am.
No, you're yeah.
I'm still in denial, but I'm running a business.
No,
I do
yes,
my
you are.
taxes. I'm running a
Hey,
business.
Ira, stay the hell
Yeah.
out away from us. Yeah.
Get out. Get
Um,
out.
no, so yeah, when I hear you talk, it seems like this is, not even like more so than the artistic side. It's been somewhat therapeutic for you. And it's like, it's something that you personally get from this. So it's like when I hear you speak about it, we're all about, profit and surviving. Well, I don't say we're, but I mean,
Yeah.
profit
Yeah.
and surviving is important, but it seems like more so than that, you're getting something therapeutic. I mean, am I reading into that right? When you talk about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And a lot of that I learned obviously from the pandemic, of just like everyone taking, or the people who could afford or have the lifestyle to take the time off and to really understand
Yeah.
where the joys in life are coming from. That was the time. That wasn't actually the time for me. The time for me was this past summer. I took a couple of months off that I probably shouldn't have taken off, but I did because I needed to do a lot of personal reflective work.
Yeah.
And this is why it has been therapeutic for me. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, at the end goal of this business is to be profitable, and whether that's with money or just with support and love, like however it's coming to me right now, I'm taking it for what it is, because
Yeah.
I'm ready for it to grow. Don't get me wrong. There is an opportunity for where I'm living right next door to have a cafe or to have a bakery of some sort. This is an
Mm-hmm.
empty building that they refuse to put on the market right now. They're waiting. It's type of family business. They're waiting. So I'm also waiting, being very patient. This is the only place I would ever put into a brick and mortar for my business. I've decided that already. There's one other potential place, but I'm not seeing it. So this is also where the patience came in for me. It was just like, well, you can really you can build this brand in other ways without, having to take a big leap and open up a physical location. So let's take the time to work on that right now. What does that mean for me? That means keeping myself like in check, so that when I'm making decisions in the future, I'm not going off a bender and like doing crazy stuff I'll regret
Right.
later.
Right.
Just strategizing and making sure that it's the right move at the right time, and being really, really proud of any move that I do make, because I think when we talked earlier about like, yeah, I'm fearless, I'll pretty much do anything. I learn now, like that's a great attribute, but it also comes biting me in the ass a little bit, because I could take a big leap and then it totally fail, or I start making this leap and then I get so caught up in like just the anxiety of having to make the leap that I don't enjoy the outcome. So
Right.
I'm
But
really trying to figure out.
I'm sorry, you're trying to figure
No, no,
out.
no. I'm just
Oh,
really trying to strategize. Yeah,
yeah.
like as a small business owner.
But
Yeah,
that's the thing about entrepreneurship. It's like
yeah.
you're going to get your ass kicked at some point. It's just like
And I
about,
have.
yeah, and it's just about
It's.
can you get up, because a lot of people, that's why a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
don't get started, and that's why a lot of people fold, is because yeah, when you take that leap, it's not just you're going to sail, you're going to bump some rocks, and until you take flight, and then even after you take flight, you're still going to take your lumps at times. So um that's kind of a part of it. And the other thought I had that I want to double back to, and I guess it ties into this, is just somewhat is, hearing you speak and you're like, hey, I just want it to be the perfect thing, and you're kind of balancing that, like, hey, maybe if it's 80% that way. And that's just something to what we say in this office all the time. Actually, Rach is big on that and saying, and
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of adopted it as progress over perfection.
Mm-hmm.
progress over perfection. Like, it may not be, 100%, perfect, but if that 80 to 85% can get it done and get us, still moving the needle forward and progressing, then, you know, let's do it that way, because we could sit here and re-engineer and over and over and over. Adrian has even talked about that within his team and his company. Is like at some point you have to just cut it and move on to the next. So yeah, we've kind of everyone struggles with that because you're all, we are all, especially when it's us, our name is on it, we're so
Yeah.
passionate about this stuff,
Yeah.
and we're very prideful about the product and what we present to the world, but sometimes it's just like, hey, let's finish up this set of whatever we have so we can get decent enough sleep so we can get back up in the morning and go to the farmers market
That
on
part.
time and all that kind of shit,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
What I
Yeah.
already know, you being a solopreneur, I can only imagine you're doing everything, Kaitlin. It's just like, yeah.
Everything. And it definitely, comes with its advantages and disadvantages.
Yep.
But also, I mean, you mentioned Adrian, and I also can't not go through this podcast and not mention Adrian because he's been a huge
Hey,
support. And shout out to Adrian. He's my
my
mentor as
guy.
well. Yeah, I love this guy to pieces, and he's been so supportive of me along the way. And I love our check-ins, and something that he told me that I'll never forget from the very beginning when I came to Elysian to do a tasting for to present, the business for their cafe. He was just like, this is going to be one of the many babies that you will have. Like, this is just one thing, so don't get too caught up. Just exactly what you're saying now, in some way or another, right? But just
Yeah.
don't get too caught up and try to make this what you want it to be, because it's going to expand and contract and move and shift and just on this space-time continuum, it's only going to be this one small thing. And I always remember that what he because it
Like a kid. Like a
yeah,
kid. Like
exactly, like
like a baby.
literally, like he was saying, like literally, this is your baby,
Yeah.
but it's just you can't hold on to what it is right now. And when you're speaking to also like how we're talking about perfectionism, that's been a lot of the work I've had to like let go of being like, hey, it wasn't perfect. And I gave it to this person and it wasn't perfect to me, but let go of the idea of stressing about why it wasn't perfect, because it was still a beautiful product. I'm still being an honest person, giving the best version of myself that I can. And then now to like jump into what you're saying now about solopreneur, like how much of that plays into how I'm running this whole business, like stressing about, did I make that cake like the right way that they wanted me to do it? They asked for something so specific. It doesn't matter, because then I'm taking hours out of the rest of my day where I got to do computer work, call this person, send this email, print these labels. Like, that's just taking away time that is so necessary for
Yeah.
me. So
You know
it's
what? I think I just hearing you and I forget that I'm like, as you talk, I was like, that perfectionism that you got, I'm like, it makes so much sense. She's an athlete. She was in ballet since forever. She's practiced and practiced and practiced. And it was
yeah.
like perfect. And it was like all about perfection and execution. I play sports, so I get it. And
Yeah.
what I'm hearing, like
Yeah.
that's ingrained in us. That's hard to
Yes.
let go. But as soon as
That's
I heard,
so true.
I was like, she was a ballerina. I get it.
I didn't even piece that together, James. That is so true. That's so
It's it's
real.
it's it's in your DNA.
Literally, I'm rehearsing for this one moment. I only get to show you one time out of the hours I've put into it. And also, side note, I am still dancing and I just performed last month. That's another part of this whole thing. Yeah.
Hey.
Like, I love that I have a space and a friend who has a space for me to perform,
Oh,
because I need that so much. That was such a healing experience. But yeah, I worked my ass off for 10 days, 60 plus hours, back to back to back, to give you just a little snippet. And that level of perfectionism, absolutely, I carry over into this business.
so it's
If it's
hard to,
not show, yeah. Mm-hmm.
and that's not something we turn off because
Right.
I mean, like when you've done it for so long, like, I played football and, it's like literally you practice and practice and practice and go over the same plays and different mechanics and all this kind of stuff. And then, yeah, when you get to game time, it's supposed to be as much as possible execution, like perfect
Yeah.
execution. And so it's just ingrained in us and it's hard to turn off. But I think my kind of motto around a lot of stuff is like, go and let God, because you
Mm,
can literally run yourself into an exhaustion about like, man, did I, like for me, did I make that offer right? Should I maybe, add another incentive? Should I,
hmm
whatever in during negotiations, did I get the best price? But then it's just like, you know what? Was it profitable? Did the deal happen? On to the
hmm
next. But
hmm
I still struggle with that shit. So, all good, all good. Kaitlin, I really, 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 really enjoy this conversation. Like seriously, I may be a little bit biased because you're awesome and I know you, but I think, man, just hearing your story is so fascinating. The transparency, the honesty, the passion that you speak with, um, man, and then just hearing how your strength and your toughness to turn this thing into like, I don't want to downplay it, but like something like kind of like a hustle or the startup to this business is phenomenal. And to know that you're eyeing brick and mortars and all this kind of stuff is like it's really exciting. And so I really eventually we're gonna have to have you on a follow up to see, check in and see where Lagniappe is at and how everything is going. Um, but for the near future,
Yeah.
because we've already heard French Quarter Fest coming up. What's in the near pipeline for Lagniappe?
Yeah, I mean, I guess unfortunately it's less of a physical thing you can grab in the next few months. But what is, and first of all, back up. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so sorry.
Hey,
My
no.
Southern manners. No, thank you for having me. I'm so glad we got a chance to talk. Like this
Yeah.
has also been healing for me. It's great. I was really nervous because I
Hmm.
know that the point of this, well, not the point, but the trajectory of this is like talking business and I'm really trying to work on a claiming this as a business, right, in the first place, but then B, like you're saying, like where I see this business going. I just had a call with the POS system that I use, Hot Plate, for my orders. They wanted to just do like a check-in call. And he asked me the question. He's like, I know this is a hard question to ask in hospitality, but where do you see your business in 10 years? And I was like, whoa, I don't know, but just it's very comforting and healing to know that there's support, that there's people like you out there who are cheering people like us on, who have these ideas and like have all these crazy opportunities to do these ideas, to execute them. And even if we're ready or if we're not ready, that we know that like this is in place and that we're here to support each other no matter what. And to me, like that's what Lagniappe is. That's what being home is. That's what being back in New Orleans is for me, is a chance to invest back into this city and to take my time and do it, because I have the time right now to do it. So maybe we'll check in like 2 years when the business is like flourishing, in
I
whatever
love
realm
it.
that's going
I
to
love it.
be.
You never
But
know. It may be quicker than that.
you never know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know next year I'm going to be tied up doing this, like, building this program,
Mm-hmm,
building this
mm-hmm.
pastry program.
Very
So
cool.
I'll say that, like, if you follow social media, when those things are ready to expose themselves sometime next year, then just stay tuned for what that's going to be, because it will be physical things you can get at this location.
And what's the social
Yeah.
media handles that to follow?
Lagniappe Baking is the
Okay.
social media
Okay.
handle. It's
Okay.
all one word, Lagniappe. And then good luck for the folks who don't know what Lagniappe is and how to spell it. But you'll put that in the podcast.
No,
It's like,
yeah, I'm gonna put it at the
that's always
bottom.
the next fun thing.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
like,
gonna
how
put
do
it
you
at the
spell
bottom.
Lagniappe? Oh, I don't know. You would
Yeah.
never know there was a G in there.
Right.
So
Right. Not very cool. And I mean, so yeah, you're like, yeah, there's not really much going on, but it is. You're just saying. I mean,
it's
so
a lot.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you've got, of course, your day to day that you're doing, and then I'm assuming you're going to be repping up because this is like um uh holiday season's coming up.
Holiday season's coming up. Thank you. I
Yeah.
look, clearly I don't know what I'm doing for the rest of this year.
Yeah.
Clearly,
You're
I'm
gonna be
just like,
busy
yeah,
as
I'm just
hell.
here. I'm about to be busy as hell. I think I'm blocking it from my mind because I'm not
Mm-hmm.
ready for it. But it's not holiday season, James. It's actually Mardi Gras season. That's stressful. It's
Uh,
king cake season.
oh.
So everyone here really starts planning now for king cake. So you kind of work backwards.
You make
So
king cake?
yes, hmm
Oh
I do king cake. I
shit.
was featured in the big book of king cake, which is also a great
Come
gift for.
on.
We're talking holidays, we're talking gift giving. We weren't, but we are now. Matt Haynes was a food writer, or is a food writer, and Randy Schmidt is an amazing photographer. The two of them got together, interviewed like 100, I don't know how many people, to do this big book of king cake. And it's a beautiful coffee table book that is just like all these amazing local artists, makers, and bakers alike. And it's really cool. And so I'm in that book.
Dope.
And that really helped the carnival side of Lagniappe, the Mardi Gras season,
Yo,
flourish. So
I've gotta pull some strings. I don't know if we're gonna be there, but fam, and your price is your price, but I need a king cake. I mean, I'm
look,
sorry.
we'll make that work.
I'm
Maybe
gonna
Kirby
say,
will take a trip to Houston. Maybe
hey,
right? Like
yeah.
we're gonna make this work.
Yeah, and just thinking about, I'd love to have Lanyap be a part of the next dinner or event we have from Masterminds, and you kind of be able to have the chance to put those products on display. That'd be dope. So,
I would love that.
yeah, I'm gonna think
Yeah.
about that as well. Um,
Yeah, I would love
no,
that. I
cool.
like I say, I apparently I didn't know what I was doing the rest of the year, but I have the time, until the end of this year, until holiday season. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be in the holiday market. I'm doing Thanksgiving pies. I'm doing whatever Christmas means because it changes for me. This is how the 30 I'm doing Christmas orders, and it's changed every time.
Now, do
But
you like when you're doing like Thanksgiving pies? Do you like take only like a certain amount of orders? Is it like only like 30 or 40, 50 orders, whatever it is? Okay. Cause I didn't know
yeah,
if it was just like, yo,
yeah.
come on, come on. I was like, yeah, damn, that'd be crazy.
Well, no, 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 no. And thankfully, I just got my old boss, my old chef, where I worked at for the beginning of this year. She gave me this really nice, like, standout oven. So I just need to get the right plug for it. I got two ovens now. I could
Yeah.
be bam, 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 bam. Yeah,
Popping,
that's gonna help.
popping,
Now I can increase, yeah, my pies at least by
productivity.
50%. Yeah.
Come
So
on.
I'm
All
looking
right. All
forward to
right.
this.
Well, yeah. Man, Kaitlin, I truly, truly appreciate the time and I really enjoy this conversation. I mean, nah, this was dope. And yeah, you're clearly, you know, whether you want to own it or not, clearly business savvy, and definitely going places. Just hearing, what the things you have in store and how you're going about it methodically, and you have that plan in place and the resources. So super excited to see where all of this goes. So, what I like to do, I ask this to everyone at the end is, well, before I do that, is there anything that
Mhm.
we didn't discuss that you would like to maybe mention or talk about before we wrap it up? Is there anything that we didn't touch on?
No, I mean, we already semi shouted out Lino, but I mean, I'm going
Yeah.
to shout him out again because I love him, but also because
Hey,
he's also been a big driving force behind this
man.
business. We work really well together. Obviously, we're a romantic partnership, but also as business partners, we work very well together. He's in
Dope.
film, but he also has a fascination about food. So he's working on a documentary about Black chefs, and alongside that,
Dope.
like we're able to just like really connect and piece together people and things and places and learn together a lot. And that's been so important for the growth of this business. So that's what I'm talking about too. And I'm like, I'm taking the time now, like I'm educating myself. I'm learning about the South. I'm trying to figure out what's happening in this crazy terroir. And like that's going to help me grow and build my business. So this is just that like downtime
Yeah.
that's frustrating because it's like not necessarily profitable, but it's very important because I know this is like the calm before the storm. So I'm
Hey.
excited to be in this space. I've accepted it for what it is. because I did the hard work last year. So like a little bit of a break, and then I'm like ready to shine, So
Let's
I'm
get
excited
it.
for where Lagniappe's going to be. So thank you also for like getting me excited about it. As an artist, it's just like kind of like it comes and flows. Like sometimes I'm really thrilled. Others I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know, but
Yeah.
the
No,
support from everyone is just
sometimes
amazing.
you need it because when you're in it, you're just
Yeah.
you're in it, you're caught up in the weeds, and sometimes it helps when somebody like taps you on the shoulder. It's like, no, you're rocking this shit out and you're a badass. Like, yo, keep going.
Yeah.
So love to see it.
And the last thing I'll say, and this is
Yeah,
me giving myself the flowers, but I was
let's
also just
go.
awarded Star Chefs, which is a great opportunity and an amazing accomplishment for me. So they're an organization based in New York that like highlights local chefs in cities who are like doing the groundwork or providing the whole kit and caboodle. So when I got that award, it really meant a lot to me. I've been following
Dope.
Star Chefs basically since I've discovered this career, and
Yeah.
so just already a few years into the business, and for them to highlight me in this
Yeah.
unconventional style of baking was like really important and for my personal growth. So pat myself on the back. I'm really
Okay.
proud.
All right.
Yeah.
So what if these like major restaurants or something like Kaitlin, like big time New York restaurant chef, super exclusive. We want you to be lead chef for our pastry baking. We're gonna offer you you write the check. What do you want? Are you leaving? Are you going?
I've had the offer, not in that capacity, but in other capacities.
I
And
love
I'm
it.
gonna I'm gonna keep saying no right now. I'm not. It's not that I'm not ready. It's that I uh, part of being an entrepreneur is living out my dream and my vision. And if I go work for someone else, I'm living their dream, living their vision.
Talk about it.
And that's cool, but like I have an opportunity to not do that right now. So I'm gonna work this out. And if it I'm not saying it's not going to work, but when I'm ready to put this aside, I'll take the offer, give it to me. But right now,
Right.
I'll take this. I'm going to keep growing Lagniappe because this is an opportunity for me to leave something here in New Orleans that I want, that I think is very vital for this city. So
Yeah. Dope.
I'm not ready
No,
yet.
I
Yeah.
love it. I
Mm-hmm.
love that answer. I love that answer. Okay. So now to the last question. So it's just
Yeah.
like every time we start talking, it's like, oh shit,
Yeah.
what
We're
about
like, oh,
this?
wait.
So yeah, I like to ask all of the guests this. So when it's all said and done, what does Kaitlin Guerin want to be remembered for?
I, Kaitlin Guerin, want to be remembered for continuing to learn and continuing to grow and prosper. That life is right now feels so long, and I'm talking about like pandemic times, but
Mhm.
life is so short. And as much as we can build a success for ourselves, education is like the foundation of all of that, and understanding your roots and where you're coming from. Like I want to be known for taking the time to do that for myself, because this is so important right now. I'm from a very beautiful city in the South that is unlike any other place in the world. And I don't know a thing about New Orleans like I thought I did. So taking this time to understand where I'm coming from, who was here before me, the women in the kitchens, women in the spaces who have paved the path for me to be here right now. I want to be a part of that. I want to be able to leave and see Kaitlin was a beautiful baker, chef from New Orleans who created these opportunities for the city to continue to thrive in hospitality. So that's, yeah, yeah. And a whole
Sheesh.
bunch of other words that I could throw in there, but
No, that's yo, that was
yeah,
well said. Yeah, you rock that shit.
kind of want to be a legacy.
Yeah. I feel
Maybe
like
that's what it is. We all want to be,
I feel like you
maybe.
kind of practiced that answer a little bit. Nah, that was that was a good answer. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I I've been doing some scholarships and grant writing, so
Okay.
it's just, yeah,
That's
yeah. But
natural.
education's so important, so
I
that's
love it. I
that's
love it.
what it is.
Well,
Yeah.
Kaitlin, this has been awesome. I definitely appreciate your time. We are cheering you on anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, the Allen family can support. and show up and, be whatever, that you need, we got your back and we're cheering you on. So no, this has been awesome. I definitely appreciate your time. So thank you.
Thank you so much, James.
Yeah,
This has been fantastic. A very healing conversation for me too.
for
So
sure. For sure.
thank you.
So yeah,
All right.
this has been another episode of Masterminds. Please tune in every Thursday for a new episode. Where we talk to entrepreneurs and just kind of get the game and see what's going on with them. So until next time, peace.